Right. Everyone, so what we've got going at the moment is I've wired up the what you can see here, the motor and the sensor. And if we move this left and if we move it right, we can see the motor is trying to correct what we set for, which kind of works. So we kind of have this kind of force feedback where it's trying to always go back to the point. So on the top right, I have a program called DI View, and that's super useful for visualizing axes. You can also use like game control joysticks. What is it? Joy.cpl. But DI View nicely updates when you're not in focus, so we can see it nicely on the stream here. So you can see at the moment, it's always going back to 58%. So I'm moving it manually and then the motor's moving it back. Now you can kind of hear the clicking sound. That's it skipping over the belt. I can show you that in a bit. I do feel some sort of friction clutch would be really good there. But this kind of works nicely to start with. What we need to do first is we need to calibrate the throttle. And what I mean by that is we're going to change the calibration from 0 to 100%. So for example, that might be 0 and that might be 100. We probably need to work out which is which. Let's have a look. So you probably need some form of shout out in the chat if you're new here. It's not the end of the world if we get this the wrong way round. I wonder which way round would it go. So is that 0 or is that 0? I'm not sure. Fully close the throttle. Once a throttle is rotated fully forward clockwise, 100%. So if we move the throttle clockwise, so this way, that's going to be 100%. And then if we move the throttle anti-clockwise, that's going to be 0%. Okay, cool. So, so clockwise is fully open. Shout out in the stream if it's your first time here. Clockwise 100%. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to calibrate this axis. And you can see we have a motor running and it's kind of putting it back to a set point that I've set at the moment. So this value here so I'm looking at the console on the Arduino output and it's currently 3650. So 3650. So that's the raw value coming out the what is it? The AS5600, which is a magnetic sensor that's sensing the rotation of a magnet. So that's going to be our upper bound value, 3650. We'll just do that again. Maybe we should just give it a bit of play there. maybe 3648. Let's go with that to start with. And you can hear the motor burning away. It's trying to get back to the middle point. And that's 1590 maybe on the lower value. What I'm going to do is I should be able to set a set point. So if we say like T is 300, okay, that's right on the edge there. T is 330. T is 350. T is 400. Okay. And then if we say like T is 700, it'll go, whee! That's pretty cool, isn't it? So T is, what we want to do now then is configure the raw value mapping to the actual value mapping. So we have this map here, and it uses the Arduino map function. So what we're mapping into 12-bit AS5600 to 0 to 123. And what we want to do is our minimum value, okay, is going to be 1590, and our maximum value is 3648. Okay, and let's throw that onto the Arduino. And what we could do is you could just okay. And let's give it a go again. So we'll ignore the clicking for now. Okay, that's so I'm not too fussed about the force feedback at the moment because that's something we're going to play with in a second. But if we see this current position here, so our second value, 510. Now, if we go fully to the left, we can see on DI view that the graph in the top left-hand corner, it's 0%. And then we go right, and it's 100%. Awesome. And you can see it really wants to go back to the middle. Whee! Okay. So what we can say is when we first start up when we first start the chat, we want to, so we're setting the throttle range, 300. We want to set probably the position to 0 to start with, right? So let's just find what we want, a target position. Let's see what our default is there. Let's set that to 0 to start with. There you go. So you can see that it just, when we flashed that, it's just started and it's gone to 0. Now, if we move it again, so we're going to move it clockwise. It's want to go back to 0 there. I'm just going to tighten up that. Just going to tighten up the motor mount here. Right, hopefully. Awesome, right. So we're going to set this to 100 and it's going to go back to 0. That's fine. Hello, Dench, how are you doing? Are you having a nice day? What are we doing? So Hello. So what we want to do then, so we have this. Well, thanks for visiting. I'm currently, so this is this is my attempt of a collective for a helicopter. So in theory, what will happen is this can be moved up and down to change the pitch of the blades on the helicopter. And then what I'm working on at the moment, oh, that's a good bit of functionality, isn't it? I wonder. What I'm working on at the moment is getting the, let's just set this to 120 or something. So this is the throttle, which essentially is the engine, and then this motion is the angle of the blades. So what I want to happen is when I twist this, it will set the engine throttle in Flightsim, and then the motor feedback there is in most helicopters you have something called a governor, which based on the engine load you require, it will change the throttle by itself. So that's kind of where the motor feedback comes into it. Is most of the time you'll fly with the governor enabled, and then when you're like starting it and stuff, you have the governor disabled, which is why I wanted to try and make this control. So I think I've done, my first objective was getting this 0% and then up to 100%. So I've basically modeled these gears so they bind at 0 and 100%. And then I've taken the sensor readings. Where have I done that? Into this map here. Okay. And we can see using DI view on the left, up in the left-hand corner, that looks somewhat sensible. And the motor's trying to fight it, which is going to be the interesting part. What we want to try and do, it's reasonably cool. It's taken a lot of time to do though, because I started on further down here. So I have some rudder pedals that I've made as well. Although I did order a RC car dampener to try and make them feel a bit better as they move, but I'm pretty sure on eBay I've clicked UK only, but I'm pretty sure that thing's coming from China, so oh well. And then I've made a stick, so this would be the cyclic as well. However, the gimbal mechanism, it's okay, it's a bit sticky. I think it was a good first attempt, but I think I'm going to have to do that again. And my stick handle is very small. Like if I put my my hand next to it, I had a bit of a CAD failure there. So yes, so we're ignoring those parts and doing another part of it, but it's it ended up being a reasonably large project, I would say. But here we are. So test motor feedback. So what I wanted to do, if I say, now what is if I say T equals 1,000, and I'll send that in the console. Cool, so the motor does move. Let me just try and refocus that. or not. So T equals 500. I mean, it's working reasonably well, isn't it? It gets a bit upset at the limits. I wonder if that's a dead band that we could adjust. That's really annoying sound. Stop, please stop. So that was actually quite a dead band, wasn't it? So it's sitting at around 30. Actually, that's because the zero's changed. I think when I move it up and down, the magnet moves because I haven't secured it properly. How's your 3D printing going, Mr. Dench? Yeah, let's change that midpoint 1654. That's changed quite a bit, hasn't it? Send that off. A 10-inch. Is that like 10 inches tall? Is that normal rack size?
Social Seashore just followed.
Social Seashore. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Hello, hello. What's a typical comms rack? Is that a 10-inch or is that something else? I can't remember. It's over half the size. Okay. What, and then are you stacking Raspberry Pis multiple ways, like it's a grid or something? What type of Raspberry Pis are you going to put into it? Because I've recently got the Pi. I've got a few of the Pi 5 units. They come with a really nice, or got like a nice kit for them. It surprised me how they like have fan headers and everything now. I never really. I have so many Raspberry Pi 3s that I use for like different projects, and then I've kind of done other stuff. Yeah, and then Pi 5s are nice. So you've got 8 4s, and you're going to like put them into a cluster or something. Yes. An nice Kubernetes cluster. Eight of them's quite a lot. How would you do storage on it? How's your day going, Shell Seashore? It's so difficult to say. Right, so test most feedback. Let's say 900. I've heard, I don't know if, I assume it's available for the 4, is you can get hats that have M2 support on them as well. I don't know quite how they work pin-wise, but then you could put like a little M2 drive on each of your nodes and have distributed storage. It would be amazing. Right, so what I'm just doing here is cool, so I'm pretty happy with the force feedback here. How much RAM does the Raspberry Pi 4 have? Because with the 5s you can buy different RAM types. I think over there I've got a 4 gig model, I've got a 2 gig model. I think they go up to like 16 or 32 for the Raspberry Pi 5s, which is pretty cool. Right, 8 gig. And you've got 8 of them, so $64 minus a bit of overhead. That'll be decent, won't it? What do you have cooling wise for that? Right. Okay, so I've got that. If I modify this and then go back. If they all work. I find one of the most annoying things with Raspberry Pis is actually finding a decent power supply for them, because you can't just use a phone charger, because they then just complain that they're undervoltaged. You kind of have to invest in a good power supply. Okay, yeah, that'd be nice. So it's a standard fan.
Tankanatoro just followed.
Thanks for the follow, Tankan Autoru. I'm finding these names are so difficult to pronounce. Do drop a message in the chat if you'd like to chat. The Anchor 8 port charger. Oh, I do love Anchor products. I don't think I've actually seen that one before. I've something on my desk over there that doesn't work very well for Raspberry Pis, but yeah, I might take a look at that, because Anchor have been, they do decent products, don't they? Okay, so we have a T value and a send value. So this code here is probably, when we get this working into the simulator, this amount of output makes the simulator run like absolute crap. I tried this with my rudder controls. I'll just show you down here. So we have some rudders down there, and we have a flight stick here as well. And the rudders are a lot more simple. They're just a potentiometer. But if you have the console filled with all of this debugging stuff, when it actually reads the axis, which is up there on the right, the simulator just really stutters. It's pretty impressive. But we'll leave the debugging in for now. The next challenge is, how do we read something out of Flightsim? So there is something called SimConnect. That apparently has a Python add-on, I think. I have not used it before though, so we could kind of have a play and see what happens. For this, I just need to launch an editor. How many amps does that? Because I think the newer Raspberry Pis want a minimum of, is it 2 amps or 5 amps or something ridiculous? They've always kind of been on the edge of. So this pack comes with a 5 amp adapter. I know the Raspberry Pi 3s wanted a minimum of 2 amps. I'm just trying to find the. We'll make a new folder called throttle control. .4, that's, and overall, that's going to be the limit, isn't it? You'd be like 2.4 amps per port, limited to 2.4 amps. Right. So I'm just going to add a video capture. 12 overall. That's pretty impressive. I might have to get one of those. Idea. And we shall do something like that. All right, hopefully. Now let me resize this. And put that down the bottom there. Overall. Right, so I think this is some Claude inspired code. So let's just read through it and see what we think it's gonna do. So it's going to. What we're going to do first is we're going to find the Arduino port. Okay, going to try and find one and auto detect one. That might not work particularly well when I have multiple controllers connected, but that's fine for now. We're going to take the SimConnect force feedback bridge. Okay, we can give it a port manually. That might work quite nicely. Give it a baud rate, an update interval. Okay, we can list SimConnect variables. And we can read a specific variable out of SimConnect. Cool. If you guys have any projects on, do drop them in the chat. We can talk about them. For Raspberry Pi cluster stuff sounds really cool. I did see one where someone's made like a 19-inch kind of a 1U rack, and then has them all lined across, and then has some really nice way of joining them network-wise as well. So they just kind of all slot in. I don't think my bank account agrees with doing that, but cool. Then we can do a dry run. We can connect to SimConnect. I think I have SimConnect installed. We'll find out. Aircraft request. Time 0 for no caching. Okay, I have no idea what that means. I assume that is part of SimConnect, where it can make aircraft. Okay, cool. And then we try and connect to my Flightsim. Useful helicopter variables, right. General engine throttle lever position. Okay, so I have my axis here. This is where it's going to get a bit fiddly. So we have the axis there that ideally I can then kind of override. So I could hold it 100% and I would expect the helicopter in game to then be at 100%, like so. And you can see the motor's going crazy, but that's fine because we'll design like a slipping clutch for it. So I don't know whether that throttle lever there is what the simulator is. Is it that axis? Is it that axis? Or is it the axis that the governor wants it to be? Not a clue. We then have an engine N1%. I think that will be different. Tail rotor pitch met. That's not relevant for us. That's not relevant for us. Okay. For this specific use case. So we have, see if we can run it, and we can read at a certain rate, fine. Read throttle from sim. General eng throttle lever position returns 0 to 100. So something I have tried to look at is if we can get any values out of the governor PID. Don't know whether we can, but that might be something in SimConnect we could try and have a look at. So this is converting it to a percentage, okay. And then we're reducing serial traffic, nice, cool, I'm happy to do that. And then we're sending the command, which is this T stuff. So over here, if I say like T700, we can see that's commanding the motor to a new set point there. And our full set point is 1023. Okay. So we're having a look through here. What's everyone's favorite IDE? And I love asking this question because everyone disagrees. Is it IntelliJ, VS Code? I don't know why VS Code would be your favorite, but reposition feedback from Arduino. Why does it need to know that? I don't think it really does. I'm going to comment this bit out. And thanks for stopping by. Enjoy. Have a nice day. The weather outside looks delightful. Maybe not as nice tomorrow, but yes, do enjoy. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's see if we have Python on here. Python free. Yeah, there you go. Right. So we're on Windows, which is always fun. Yeah, do shout out if you have a favorite IDE, whether that be IntelliJ, VS Code, Vim. That's pretty hardcore if it's Vim, especially as an IDE. So we're just making a virtual environment here, and then we can go into the virtual environment, I hope. scripts activate. Cool. And then we will try a pip install Python SimConnect and PySerial. Okay. Hopefully that worked. So let's see if we can do it. Yeah, awesome. Right. I realize let's just move that up there so you can see it a bit better. We'll do a Python main.py and we'll see what happens. No module name serial. RIP. Why do we not get any output on this then? Any guesses? That's not really useful, is it, Windows? I guess we can't do a... Yeah, okay. Any suggestions? I was expecting a full installation debug there. Can we try with a -d? No, not useful. Okay, do we get anything if we do pip list? Nothing. What? Okay, I'm going to try open a PowerShell prompt and just try separately. Let's see. Env scripts activate. And then what, pip list? Nothing. Why is Windows so horrible to develop on? Okay, well, let's try relaunch the virtual environment, maybe. Is there like a PS1 that we could try? And then do a pip list? Nothing. Okay, well, let's use this to generate a new VM for us, and then we'll see if it works better. Try something like a wall developing on Windows. It's always 100% more difficult than doing it on Linux, but... Okay, so now we've activated this VM. Let's see if we can install anything. And okay, that works better than it was. So it's complaining that there's no Python SimConnect. It's actually just called SimConnect. There you go, awesome. Okay, and then we have our script called main. Cool. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Flightsim in the background. We'll hear my computer scream. So what I guess what I need to do is launch a flight and then see what variables is actually reading out of via SimConnect. So if we have a look at hope you guys are having a good day. Do post in the chat if you have any fun projects on the go. Right, I'm just waiting for Flightsim to boot up. And then what we'll have a look at is, I wonder if we want to, that's not useful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's change, let's just add a screen capture, not screen capture, a window capture for Flightsim. Right, so hopefully you guys can see this. I'm not sure why it's just a black screen. That is interesting. Where should we put it? Where should we put it? What we'll do is we'll move the, let's move that up there, just as the axis. We'll move that to around there, and hopefully it will work. So after it loads, right, so we have tested the motor feedback. Let's check that off. Flightsim is still thinking about loading. Come on, come on. And it's not being displayed. Right, there you go, cool. Right, so what we'll do, let's go into, let's select an aircraft. Probably the standard G2 would be a good place to start. And I think we probably want to start somewhere with the engine running. So we'll just start at, say, Southampton 02. Cool, let's give this a go then. So in Flightsim, when you start on the runway, it typically starts all running, which helps in this case because we just want to see what values are coming out of the simulator. Do-do-do-do. Okay, awesome. Right, so if we have a look down here, we have the throttle. I do just want to let me just get rid of the audio so it doesn't come through so horribly for you guys. So we have a throttle here. So if we turn off the governor, the governor is a switch there. See, the governor's off. Cool. So what you can do is if we move the throttle, it's essentially changing the engine power. You can see there. So actually what we could do, if we go into controls and what's it picked up? So that's probably not what we want anymore. We want, yeah, that's fine. We want something like throttle, and then we can assign the axis we've created. Set helicopter throttle axis. Set helicopter throttle. For a helicopter, set all throttles. Why are they the same? Okay, sure. So let's give this a go. And let's see if it somewhat works. Oh, no. Okay, that's wrong, isn't it? Okay, maybe it's not that. Let's try something else. Throttle. If you've got any ideas, let me know. Set helicopter throttle. Might just have to do some Googling if... Oh. Okay, what you can also do is, if you have a look at sensitivity, that looks fine. Let me just make this a bit bigger. So let's try save that and see if it's working. Oh, nice. Okay. So I think that's kind of working. It's reverse. So let's just reverse. Let's just invert the axis. Okay, we'll try that again. So this would be 0. So you can see if we zoom in on this up here, we can see if we put it to 0, it's going right down, and then we'll put it back up to 50%, and then we can push it higher. And we see it's really trying, because it's having to accelerate the blades there. Okay, and I'm just going to release it, which is going to put it back to 50%. And in the top right part of the screen, you can see that. Okay. Right, so now we have that working. Shall we see what we can actually pull out with SimConnect? So what we're going to do is, let's run this again and see what happens. Okay, so we have an error that it can't talk to COM6. Now COM6, I'm already listening to the serial monitor, so I'm just going to close the serial monitor and try that again. Okay, so it's auto-detected that. Reading engine throttle lever position. Again, this might be the wrong one. Maybe what we'll do to start with is do a list vars and see what it comes back with. That's not useful, is it? Ooh. Ooh. Let's just try setting it to 0 there. Right. So what we want to do is we have this engine throttle position. Now what would be really nice is if it outputs what the position is. So maybe here we'll add a print for the raw value from SimConnect. That looks about right. Okay, so SimConnect is saying 0.29, and then it's kind of giving up. Oh, okay, so what we'll try and do, let's move the throttle. Well, that would be fully open, wouldn't it? Try and jam it fully open here. Okay, so the raw value from SimConnect. Ooh, I might need to find out how to enable active pause. Okay. So this is, yeah, so we're getting a bit of delay here, and I'm fairly sure if you have a look up here, you see that the axis value is actually taking ages to read. So if I take this back to 0, well, now put it to 100, it's taking a good couple of seconds to actually update. And now it's just kind of chasing around. So let's just cancel that for a second. Oh dear, we have fallen over. So let's have a look. Keyboard active, I think it's active pause. Talk about active pause, it's a pause key. Okay. What we'll do, let's just restart this. Okay. Ah. Okay, so what we want to do first, I think, is let's put back to Arduino. And we'll pop back to the Arduino screen, and we will just disable all of that because that's way too much information to send over serial all the time. Okay. Now, if I move it, it should go back to 0. And you can see that throttle slide is now actually behaving a lot better. So as soon as you get the simulator involved and all the other stuff, it then starts going, okay, so we have that. What we can then do is we'll just have a look. Let's pop back to IntelliJ here. So we're going to bring IntelliJ up. So let's just run that again and see what we get. Okay, so you're saying the raw value from SimConnect is 67%. Right. Now if we move, oh, check that out. So the actual axis is saying 67% as well. So I'm just going to move this. I wonder, so let's resume this. So saying 75, 74, I'm going to manually push that up. You see it's kind of fighting between 100 and so I mean, if we pop over here, oh, so if we turn the governor off again, this is a bit awkward to get to, it's like right on the edge there. Okay, so the governor's off. Now what we should be able to do is we should be able to reduce the throttle. Nice, okay. So we're going to reduce the throttle again. And you see that's actually being reflected in the sim. Somewhat unexpectedly. So that's now setting. If we zoom in on here. And now if I manually increase it, increase a bit more, increase it fully, so this is 100% throttle. It should get to a point where it then starts to kind of run away. I can then bring it back manually and we should be able to maintain okay. So you can see this SimConnect value here is no, it's going to be like some, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be like, is it a like a mix of the, is it a mix of the governor? And that's kind of what we're going to have to try and fight against is I want the simulator to read the actual axis position as the source of truth. So we can see this is now, it kind of works fine if I have a governor off, but if, let's turn the governor on. There you go. So now the governor's on, and we can see the motor winding back a bit. If I want to force, that's worked, and it's trying to correct me. Okay, and now I'm going to take my hands off. Oh wow. I think this is kind of working. I am thoroughly surprised. Okay, so let's say this is 0%. So I'm going to force 0%, and you can see the motor's like really trying to go for it. It's like, hey, we should be a lot higher. So that's the governor. Now I do wonder whether the governor should actually disengage. So let's just release it and see what it does. Yeah, so the governor has disengaged at this point, hasn't it? So I'm going to slowly start to ramp it up. And then once it gets to a certain RPM, it should then start to take over. See what happens. And then it's rolling back when it's getting to the maximum RPM. Nice. Okay. Okay, so let's try and force some more throttle. Ooh. You can see it's not quite happy with that, is it? So if I whack that to 100%, it's like trying to fight it backwards. If I go down, it desynchronizes correctly. I can then push it, start to bring it back up. And then it rolls back. Okay. So that kind of works, doesn't it? It's getting there. Do drop a message in the chat if you're working on any projects or something cool, or if you're what you've been doing today. What do we do? So I'm kind of interested, like, do we have so that's fully desynchronized, and now if I start to wind up the throttle, then the governor's going to take over. Now governor's winding it back. But if I needed to take the throttle out, oh, there you go, that's gone weird. So SimConnect saying it's 71. Oh, that's almost like if it goes out of bounds. Let's just try that again. Okay, so that's 530, and now I'm going to go all the way down to 0, and then it bounces back up, and Flightsim has it at 100. But if we keep it at like, okay, let's try again. Okay. Okay, so let's take it down to like here. So that seems to work. But if I take it to 0, okay, it's disengaged. So let's whack the throttle back up. And then I'm gonna whack it all the way down quickly. You see, the simulator kind of takes over. It hasn't fully desynchronized, and it's the value from SimConnect is 72. Huh. I think that must be something in Flightsim that's doing that. Let's take it back to like 10%, something like that. Okay, let's put it back up. Okay, we'll let that zero out. Nice. Okay, and then I'm going to take it to like... Yeah, I wonder. It's like if the axis is 0, if it gets a 0 reading, then Flightsim says, "Ha, nah thanks." Which we can combat that. We can just have like an if condition in the Arduino code. So let's try that again. If it's 0, then it goes bleh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's just pop back to Arduino, and we can say before we that's the motor loop, the raw angle, the current position. What we'll say that if current position is less than 1, so 0, then we'll say current position equals 1. So over serial, that will always be 1 is our minimum entry. And we can't, so we get an access denied if something else is using the port. So we'll just cancel, just stop our Python code there. Upload, please. Please. Uploading. Oh, done uploading. Awesome. Okay, so let's reconnect to it. Okay, so we can see, have a look in DI Connect now. The minimum is ever 64, which is because of how it's changing this rating here. So that's set to, let's ride it up, and then we can go back to here. So we're going to ride the throttle up, ride the throttle up. Now I'm going to take my hands off, and we should be able to see that it then corrects itself back. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, and then we're going to close it fully. Still breaks, doesn't it? Okay, let's rise it up. I wonder what's causing it to... Because I think this is behaving as it should. Anyone in chat that knows how helicopters should behave, let me know. But it's the... There seems to be some disconnect when you power it fully down. Like that. That seems wrong. And then it kind of works, it does figure itself out, doesn't it? Okay. So if we take this to 0, bam! I mean, that mostly works, doesn't it? And then we can start to ride the throttle up. I wonder, should we add like a command for like governor on and governor off? Because then what we could actually do is we could disable the motor feedback. So if I go into here and turn this, find the button, right, cool. So now the governor's off. Now if I twist this to the closed position, you see it's not actually too bad. Like, you can feel the motor's trying to do something, but it's so tiny. I think maybe it might be a good, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can change these sim connect variables. So sim connect variables. So something in MobiFlight so let me just get up let me show you MobiFlight for a second. So MobiFlight, it's really good for inputs and outputs, but it doesn't necessarily have, it can't really do complicated axes. So what we're going to use it for is working out the, let's just hide Flightsim for a moment, working out what values are available out of Flightsim. So I'm hoping, here we go, so let's have a look what presets there are. So if we search for something like gov, we have heli rotor gov active. That should be reasonable. gov active. Okay, let's see what other ones there are. Heli collect position. Don't need that. Heli engine rotor RPM. Torque, brake, clutch, fine. Cyclic blade pitch, governor, trim, rotor RPM. Helicopter master throttle position. Interesting. I wonder what that does. Returns the position of a master throttle. I realise it's not actually being captured. 1 sec. So here we have helicopter master throttle. We also have, I think that might be a good one to show. I wonder in MobiFlight, can we actually see what the current value is for that? Helicopter master throttle position. Okay. Well, what we can try and do is, we have our Python code here, is we can pass in a var. So let's try passing a var. That's var helicopter master throttle position. See what happens. It's going to read it. I don't think it is. No. Does it need like a thing on the end of it? Get list from sim. Ooh, hello. So we have a list out of a simulator. Let's see if there's any. It'd be really nice if we could have like a variable viewer, wouldn't it? Let's take a look and see. Okay, well let's pop back to IntelliJ here. So that variable doesn't really work, does it? But the variable that we tried here does actually work reasonably well. So we can go to view and push that up, push it up. I wonder whether this is a bit slow. Okay, and now the governor's off, so it's going to overrun, yeah. So that's what we expect. So we can bring the throttle down a bit, and it should kind of settle around there. Now, if we turn the governor on, if we go into the sim, and there you go, we can see, right, it's now revving up again, and it's going to rev back. So the actual force feedback mechanism does work quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. So if we increase the throttle, it's gonna see. That's interesting. So I pushed that to like 100% there. Let's just have a look what the raw values are. So push it. So that's reading the, and then Flightsim's going, nah, I'm not reading that. But if we go to like just under it, then it takes it correctly. But as soon as it hits 100%, it then starts to ignore it. Yeah. So Flightsim obviously has some logic where if an axis is 0 or 100, it's just ignoring it, and then the governor has automatic control. So I think what I'm going to do again is, if we have this position here, so let's say if current position is more than 1022, we'll set current position to 1022, and that's just limiting the min-max of it. And we're just going to cancel that for a second. Okay, that's finished uploading, and we can run the Python code again, and we'll see if that makes a difference. So we'll move it up on the throttle. And I'm going to just take my hand off. We can see it's moving back. Okay, and then I'm going to increase the throttle. You see, if it's like the maximum limit's like a bit screwed, isn't it? So let's just have a look at what the actual axis value is. So we're going to push it, and Flightsim's going to go, nah. Something we could have a look at is, what does this throttle do? So if I increase it, it actually moves it a different way. Oh. I assume the Flightsim version is correct and R1 is incorrect. You can see it moves, and then it hits 100%, and then it goes, nah. Oh, it's so close to kind of working. That's a problem. How are we gonna fix that? If you have any suggestions, drop them in the chat. It'll be most appreciated. So I thought it would just be, I guess let's find a value, and then we'll just keep pushing it, and just there, isn't it? Where it then goes, nah. And you see that in the, so it's saying like 96, and then as soon as you push it slightly further, it drops down to 54. So what's that? 65, 99.61. Okay, so maybe what we'll do to start with is let's just decrease this a bit more. Let's say 1016. I guess what I could actually do is I could just change this. We could say limit the output so MSFS doesn't fall back to governor. Okay, let's see if that works. So I think it's just getting out of bounds, isn't it? Or like, and then it's saying, oh well, the user has the throttle fully closed, so they expect the governor to just work, or they have a throttle fully open, so they expect the governor to just pick it up and then work, which is not really what we want for this type of design. So we can just correct that by saying, well, yeah, don't ever have full throttle, which should be fine. Okay, so let's bring the throttle back up. Okay, now it's taking control, and you see this is the okay, then I'm going to put it to 100%. It's still kind of gone, hasn't it? Okay. So I'm going to roll it up. Roll it up to 100, and then as soon as it hits that 100 boundary, it's like, nah. Okay, I wonder in... Oh, that's interesting. So that's actually, that shouldn't be doing that. Let's go down to 0. Huh. Check that out. So it shouldn't actually be reading those maximum values, but it is. So what we could do, okay, let's put my, why is that happening? Let's put the other changes back in here, just so we can test what's going on. So that was 0, 1023. We're going to cap it at 1, and then we're going to cap it at 1016 as well. Okay. Start that again. So we're going to go to 0%. And that seems to work. Now let's go to 100%. So we're going to wait for the RPMs to come up. Why is it fighting me? It's fighting me on something. You can see I'm putting in 100% there. And as soon as I just go over that 90, it's like 96, isn't it? It's then falling straight back. The governor's taking over. I wonder whether there's something in the Flightsim files that control this. So what we can have a look at is, let me just try and find, search for G2, sim objects, airplanes, aircraft or CFG. Let's see if we can see something in here that kind of talks about the minimum max throttle. I'm not sure whether there will be or not, but worth a look. Okay, that one's not particularly useful. Let's have a look at flight model. Fuel, flight tuning. Oh, here we go. Oh, hello, hello. Enable custom throttles control. Set 1 to control engine throttles directly using SimVars and disabling all internal sim functional. That's interesting. Ratio of a rated RPM, which above the governor will be enabled, so that's what we see. Maximum speed of the throttle movement by the governor. Okay. Collective move rate limit, maximum speed for the collective, that's fine. So I wonder if we have a ratio of a rated RPM that the rotor RPM governor will try to aim. I wonder if this enable custom throttle control, although if we have that, then we need our own governor logic, which don't really want to do. Let's have a look if there's anything else then. So we have a governor PID to control auto throttle governor. Okay, let's see if there's any kind of governor. We have a governor PID, and that's about it. Okay, what about throttle? So we have a custom throttle, collected to throttle correlator. Adds the collective lever control with this ratio to the twist grip throttle control. So on the back of a throttle control, I think there's like a little cam, so it increases the throttle based on your collective, and then you also have a governor. So I think that's probably what that means. So it doesn't seem to like there's a max and a min. Does there? Okay, let's see if there's anything else. So what's this one? Gameplay.cfg. Okay, has a bit of what, hanger. Oh, does that store the? Interesting. Systems.cfg. My cameras run out of battery there. Target performance. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with what we have. I think if you have a look at that seems to be working nicely. Where it doesn't quite work is if you put it all the way up, it kind of drops off. So I wonder if we can just, I think in Arduino, what we might just try to start with is, let's just change the absolute maximum to something like 1,000. And this isn't ideal, but it should work for what we want and not behave too weirdly. Okay, so that's done uploading. Let's pop over to here again, and we'll go back to Flightsim. So I think that's, what's that trying to do then? No, again, it's, I wonder, if we push that a bit higher, let's go, then it, at some point, it just takes over and, okay. Well, I'm going to go away and have a look at that. That seems a bit interesting. It'll be something to do with the Flightsim governor code, where it's seeing throttle is above a certain value. What I could just try, let's just disable the governor for a second. So the governor's now off, and then I'm going to manually roll this up. And you can see that kind of works, right? So it's definitely the governor code that is coming in and interrupting it. So one option that we could try is in this Python code to do our own governor logic. If we take a look at flight model, we have this enable custom throttles control. I'm going to go away and do some research and see what that actually means. But what that could then do is we could have our own governor logic, which is probably a better idea. Although I don't know what, I guess we would read gov off, right? Read the state of the governor as the sim, and then if it's enabled in the Python code, then we do the governor logic and then we send it back. But yeah, so I'm going to end it there. Thanks for joining me, and we shall hopefully at the end of well, maybe at the end of today, or well, by the next stream, hopefully I will have solved this conundrum, and we can maybe fix the friction clutch, because I don't like how it slips. It doesn't feel very nice. So maybe if we get a nice way of doing the friction clutch, I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, cool. Right, bye.